हेलो स्टूडेंट्स, मैं हूं डॉक्टर प्रीति मित्तल और मैं आपके लिए लाई हूं रिवीजन वीडियोस फॉर क्लास 10 साइंस सिलेबस। हम इन वीडियोस में कंप्लीट सिलेबस रिवाइज करेंगे, स्पेशली फोकसिंग ऑन द इम्पॉर्टेंट टॉपिक्स। तो बिना देरी किए हम स्टार्ट करते हैं। फर्स्ट चैप्टर जो हम आज पढ़ेंगे दैट इज हेरिडिटी। हेरिडिटी चैप्टर का वेटेज आपके बोर्ड एग्जाम्स में है 4 मार्क्स का। इसमें से एक क्वेश्चन आएगा आपके 3 मार्क्स का एंड 1 क्वेश्चन फॉर 1 मार्क्स। तो हम पहले देखते हैं 3 मार्क्स के लिए कौन से क्वेश्चन सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है एंड उसके बाद हम देखेंगे 1 मार्क्स में क्या क्या क्वेश्चंस आने की प्रोबेबिलिटी ज्यादा है। ओके, सो विल स्टार्ट विथ 3 मार्क्स क्वेश्चंस। इसमें सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट जो आने के चांसेस हैं दैट क्वेश्चन इज सेक्स डिटर्मिनेशन इन ह्यूमन बीइंग्स। सेक्स डिटर्मिनेशन इन ह्यूमन बीइंग्स एक बहुत ही फ्रीक्वेंटली आस्क्ड क्वेश्चन है। ये 3 मार्क्स के लिए ये पूछा जाता है। ह्यूमन बीइंग्स में सेक्स डिटर्मिनेशन इज डन बाय द क्रोमोसोम्स। The chromosomes contains the gene which carry the information of the sex of the baby. ये बेबी का जो सेक्स है that depends on both the parents. Human beings have 23 pairs of chromosomes. In 23 pairs of chromosomes में से 22 pairs are autosomal chromosomes. Autosomal chromosomes means that they are going to decide the color of the eyes of the person, the color of the skin, the texture of the hair. All that will be decided by the autosomal chromosomes. And one pair of chromosome is the sex chromosome. One pair of chromosome is sex chromosome. This decides the sex of a person. If a person is having 2 X chromosomes, that the person is a female, and if a baby has X and Y chromosome, means one is X chromosome and the other is Y chromosome, then the baby is going to be a baby boy. Okay, so let's see how these are going and how the baby is getting the sex determination. Okay, so in males we have seen, in males or in the father will be having X and Y chromosome. The male has X and Y chromosome. So the father will be having X and Y chromosome. The mother will be having 2 X chromosomes. Okay. Now when the gametes will be formed, what are the gametes? In males, it is the sperms, and in females, it is the ovum. So when sperm will be formed in the male, the sperm will be having either an X chromosome or a Y chromosome. You all know that during meiosis, what happens? This either one particular gamete, one particular sperm will be containing either an X chromosome or a Y chromosome. Similarly, in the female, there are no 2 options, just a single option is there. So, the female ovum that will be formed will be containing X chromosome only. No other option is there. Now, what happens during fertilization? There is fusion of the male and female gametes. During fertilization, what will happen? Then the sperm will be getting fused with the ovum. So, if this sperm that is containing X chromosome is fertilized by the female egg, then what will be happening? That the individual will be having 2 X chromosomes, means the baby will be having X chromosome and the baby will be a baby girl. But in case if the sperm containing Y chromosome is fertilized by the egg containing X chromosome, then the baby will be having X and Y chromosome. If the baby is having X and Y chromosome, then the baby is going to be a baby boy. Then the baby is going to be a baby boy. Now, how much chances are there of a baby girl and or a baby boy? So 50-50% chances are there, equal chances are there. You can see that 50% chances are there that the baby is going to be a baby girl, 50% chances of a baby boy to be there. Okay, so there are equal chances of the baby being a girl or a boy. Second important conclusion from this is that the sex of the baby depends on the father only, because if the sperm containing X chromosome fertilized, then the baby is going to be female. If the sperm containing Y chromosome fertilizes the egg, then the baby is going to be a male. It's going to be a baby boy. So the gender of the baby totally depends on the father only. Okay, so that was all about sex determination in human beings. One last thing, one very interesting thing. In human beings, the genes are deciding the sex of the baby, but it's not the same in all the organisms. For example, snail and some organisms are there which have both the genders, male as well as female. So during some part of their life, they behave like a male, and in some other part of this life, the same individual behaves like a female. So the gender is not decided by the genes, and that is why it is not fixed. Similarly, if you see in reptiles also, some reptiles are there in which the gender is decided by the temperature at which eggs are kept. So after fertilization, the temperature at which the eggs are kept, that will decide what will be the gender of the baby. So it's really so interesting to know that it's not always the genes that decide the gender of the baby. In human beings, it's definitely only the genes which decide the gender of the baby. Okay, so this very little topic, but still it will give you 3 marks. So it's really very important topic. Next topic that we are taking is from Mendel's laws. Mendel, I hope you all know that he is known as the father of genetics. Sir Mendel gave 3 laws, out of which in your NCRT book only 2 laws are given. Okay, so we are now going to discuss only the 2 laws that are given in your NCRT book. Mendel did his experiments on pea plant. He was a great scientist and he performed many experiments on pea plants. Why he chose pea plants? Because pea plants is a bisexual plant. It is having the male as well as the female gametes in the same plant only. Apart from that, pea plant is a perennial plant. Perennial plant means it grows throughout the year. So throughout the year you can get the produce and you can find out the readings and you can find out what kind of a plant it is. Okay. Then what other reason was that Mendel performed the experiment on pea plants which is having many contrasting features. Contrasting features means the color of the flowers could be white or purple, the shape of the seed could be wrinkled or it could be round, the color of the seeds could be green or yellow. So there were 7 contrasting features which Mendel studied. So pea plant was having a lot of contrasting features and that was a very good reason for selecting the pea plant for his study. So Mendel gave 2 laws and these 2 laws are very important for your exams. In your exam, you could be asked to explain either the law of dominance and you could be asked to explain the law of independent assortment. Okay, so one by one, we are going to discuss both these laws. So starting with law of dominance. In this topic, I will also suggest you that how you should write the answer so that you really score very well in your exams. So law of dominance. The question that will be put up in your exam is how Mendel proved that the traits could be dominant or recessive. So how Mendel proved that? You will see that. Okay. That is the examiner asking you about the law of dominance. So for explaining the law of dominance, first we will write the answer under 4 headings. What will be the 4 headings? Let's just write it at one corner of the board and then one by one we will explain all the 4 headings. Okay. So first heading under which we will explain our answer is law, the law which he gave. second is experiment, third is observation, and fourth one is conclusion. Okay, so first is, what is the law state? This law, what is it going to state? So the law of dominance states that the traits could be dominant or recessive. A trait that is able to express itself even in the presence of a recessive feature is known as a dominant trait, and a trait which is not able to express itself in presence of another trait, that is known as a recessive trait. So according to the law of dominance, Mendel explained that the traits which are able to express itself always, that are known as dominant trait, and a trait which is not able to express itself in presence of another trait is known as a recessive trait. Okay, now the experiment, the second heading of our explanation will be experiment. So what experiment did Mental do? What he did, he took parent plants, and the parent plants were homozygous plants. Homozygous means that both the genes were exactly the same. So he took the parent plant and he took one of the plant that was tall. A tall plant will be represented by capital T, capital T. Then the another plant that he took was a dwarf plant, that was small t, small t. Okay, so that was a dwarf plant and that was having the genes small t, small t. Okay, now when the gametes will be formed, what are the gametes in plants? In male, it is, suppose this is a male and suppose this is a female plant. Any of the two plants could be taken as a male or a female. Okay, so when the gametes will be formed, gametes means in plants means that the male gamete will be pollen grain and the female gamete is the ovum that is present in the ovary of a flower. So the gametes, when the gametes will be formed, it will be having, the tall plant will be having just one type of gamete, that is capital T, because however number of gametes are formed, there is only one possibility of having a capital T only. Okay, similarly when the ovum will be formed, that will be having a small t. Now when these two gametes are going to fuse together, that will result in the formation of F1 generation. What will be the genes of F1 generation? From the male it will be getting capital T, from the female it will be getting small t. So this is known as the F1 generation. This F1 generation will be having the genes capital T and small t. Okay, so that was formed. So how it would look? This plant will be tall because it is having capital T and capital T is a dominant trait. By this experiment only he came to know that tallness is a dominant trait, because all the plants that he got by crossing capital T and small t, means a tall plant was cross pollinated with a dwarf plant, with a short plant. So all the plants that he got was tall. So all the plants were tall. That showed that the tall is a dominant feature. Okay, so all the plants that were formed in the F1 generation were tall and that were having the genotype capital T, small t. Okay. In next, what he did was he self-pollinated the plants obtained in the F1 generation. So what was the genotype of the plant obtained in the F1 generation? That was capital T, small t, capital T, small t. That was the plants of F1 generation. Okay. So he did the self-pollination of the plant. Self-pollination means the ovum as well as the pollen grains have to be taken from the same plant. How self-pollination could be done? Self-pollination is very simple. What is done? That when the flower is formed, then capping is done on the flower. Capping means that the flower is totally covered with something. Okay, so totally covered. So now what will happen? The flower will not come in contact with other pollen grains. Other pollen grains from other plants, other flowers cannot come and just stick to the stigma of that particular flower. So that is how self-pollination is carried out. So he did the self-pollination of the plants obtained in the F1 generation. इनका क्या किया उन्होंने? Self-pollination means ovum as well as the pollen grain were taken from the same flower. Okay. Now, when the gametes will be formed, the gametes will be having either a capital T or a small t in case of a male flower, male part of the flower, and the ovum that will be formed will be having either capital T or small t. Both the possibilities are there in the male as well as in the female gamete. Now, when the fertilization will occur, there are four possibilities. We can work out these four possibilities by drawing a square also. That would look very nice in your answer. So, how we'll show that? We will draw a square. On one side, we will be showing the gametes of the male. What are the possibilities? Capital T and small t. And on the other side, these are the gametes of male. And the gametes of female also will show similarly. Capital T and small t. These two are the possibilities for the female gamete. These two are the possibilities for the male gamete. Okay. So, now what will happen if this pollen grain fertilizes with this ovum? That will result in capital T, capital T. Okay. And what will happen if this capital T fertilizes with this pollen grain? It will result in capital T, small t. Okay. Now, if this sperm fertilizes with this pollen grain fertilizes with this ovum, it will again result in capital T, small t. And if this ovum and this pollen grain are fertilized, then it will result in small t, small t. Okay, so these four possibilities are there. Okay, so what was there? The male was also tall. The female plant that was taken as a female plant, that was also tall. But when we observe the results, these results are known as F2 generation. The second generation that was formed from the parent plants is known as F2 generation. So in the F2 generation, what type of plants were there? Capital T and capital T will form tall plant. Capital T and small t, again a tall plant because it is a dominant feature. Capital T, small t, again a tall plant. And small t, that will result in a dwarf plant. So, the male plant that was the part of the plant that was behaving like a male, that was also tall. The female plant that was behaving like a female part was taken, that was also tall. But in the F2 generation, we got the results that three plants were tall and one plant was dwarf. So if you observe the ratio, we can write it as tall ratio dwarf. Tall ratio dwarf was 3 ratio 1. Three plants were tall and one plant was dwarf. So that was what we got in the F2 generation. If we write the genotypic ratio means how the genes look, how they exactly are. So capital T, one possibility. Capital T, small t, that was another possibility. And the third one was small t, small t. So what's the ratio? One is capital T. Two are capital T, small t. And one is small t, small t. So that was the plants that were formed in the second generation, in the F2 generation. Okay, so that was all what Mendel did. Okay, either you can do two things, experiment and observation. You can write as combined heading, experiment and observation, or you can write that separately. So what we will write in observations, that Mendel observed that in F1 generation all the plants were tall. In F2 generation, out of 4 plants, 3 were tall and 1 was a dwarf plant. And the ratio of capital T, capital T, capital T, small t, and small t was 1:2:1. That was the observation of Mendel. Now the last heading is conclusion. What Mendel concluded after doing all this? Mendel concluded that the tall feature is a dominant feature because it is able to express itself in the F1 generation. But the dwarf feature is a recessive feature because it is able to express itself only in the absence of a tall feature. If a tall feature is there, then the dwarf feature is not able to express itself. So recessive feature will be able to express itself only in the absence of a dominant feature. Okay, so that was the conclusion given by Mendel. Okay, that's all about law of dominance. If you remember this law, if you just work it out properly, write all the things, show it in your diagram, then definitely you will be scoring full on full marks, that is 3 on 3. Okay, so this question will be coming for 3 marks. The next question from the same chapter that can come for a 3 marks question is law of independent assortment. Actually, Mendel gave 3 laws. The first law was law of dominance. The second law was law of segregation. But this law of segregation is not given in NCERT book. So, in the revision videos, I am not explaining the laws which are not there in NCERT. We are just going to confine our studies only to the important questions and the things which are really important for your final exams. Okay. So the next law that is given in NCERT book and that's very important for exams is law of independent inheritance, or it is also known as law of independent assortment. Now, this question could also be explained under the same headings: law, experiment and observation, and the third one is conclusion. Okay, so first, what does this law tells us? Before explaining the law, before going into the law, what is this law going to state? I would like to tell you something from our day-to-day life that will make your understanding for this law very easy. Suppose we have a person who is dark complexion. So is it is mandatory that a tall person is always going to have a dark complexion and a short person is going to be fair? No, it's not that. You all know that, है ना? एक लंबा इंसान fair भी हो सकता है and dark complexion भी हो सकता है. Similarly, a short person could be having fair complexion और a dark complexion. दोनों ही possibilities हैं. तो बस ये लॉ भी इतना ही सिंपल है. जो मेंडल ने ये लॉ बताया था उसमें भी इसी चीज को प्रूव करा है. बट हमने जो बात कही वो हम एग्जाम्स में नहीं लिखेंगे. वी विल बी प्रूविंग इट द सेम वे, टेकिंग द एक्सपेरिमेंट एग्जाम्पल ऑफ अ पी प्लांट ओनली, जो मेंडल ने किया था. ठीक है, तो मेंडल ने क्या किया, उन्होंने 2 पी प्लांट सिलेक्ट करे, 2 तरह के पी प्लांट्स को स्टडी करा. वन ऑफ द प्लांट ही took was having round seeds that were green in color. Why I am writing green as small y small y? Because जो ग्रीन कलर है वो एक रेसेसिव ट्रेट था. मेंडल ने जब स्टडी करा तो पता चला है कि वो रेसेसिव ट्रेट है। और रेसेसिव ट्रेट को हम हमेशा स्मॉल अल्फाबेट से रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं, ठीक है। तो राउंड सीड्स थे दैट वर ग्रीन इन कलर। ये कौन सी जनरेशन है? पेरेंट जनरेशन। पेरेंट प्लांट जो मेंडल ने लिया, उन्होंने क्या किया कि राउंड प्लांट लिया दैट वाज हैविंग द ग्रीन सीड्स, और उन्होंने उसका क्रॉस पॉलिनेशन करवाया। क्रॉस करवाया किसके साथ में? एक प्लांट के साथ में दैट वाज हैविंग wrinkled seeds but that were yellow in color. The seeds were yellow in color and the seeds were wrinkled. That type of a plant was taken. Okay. But before that, I just forgot. Law क्या है? Law of independent inheritance. What is going to be the statement of this law? So, according to the law of independent inheritance, or according to the law of independent assortment, Mendel proved that the inheritance of one of the traits is independent of another trait. Okay? शायद अभी ये स्टेटमेंट थोड़ा कम समझ में आया हो, पर अभी हम पूरा लॉ समझेंगे, फिर ये स्टेटमेंट भी समझ में आ जाएगा. ओके, सो ही टुक पेरेंट प्लांट दैट वर हैविंग राउंड सीड्स एंड ग्रीन इन कलर, और उसका क्रॉसिंग करवाया रिंकल सीड्स के साथ में दैट वर येलो इन कलर. ठीक है, जब इनका क्रॉस पॉलिनेशन करवाया तो क्या हुआ वो देखते हैं, बट उससे पहले क्या होगा? फॉर्मेशन ऑफ गैमेट्स. गैमेट्स जब भी बनते हैं तो एक पर्टिकुलर कैरेक्टरिस्टिक डिसाइड करने के लिए कोई एक जीन ट्रांसफर होता है. ओके, सो फॉर द कलर ऑफ द सीड्स व्हाट इज द पॉसिबिलिटी? जस्ट राउंड, है ना. कोई दो पॉसिबिलिटीज है ही नहीं, सिर्फ राउंड शेप ही पॉसिबल है, तो कैपिटल आर जाएगा. और कलर ऑफ द सीड्स के लिए दैट विल बी ग्रीन इन कलर. तो जितने भी गैमेट्स बनेंगे उनके पास क्या होगा? कैपिटल आर स्मॉल वाई, राउंड एंड ग्रीन कैरेक्टरिस्टिक फीचर. ठीक है, इस साइड में देख लेते हैं. इनके जब गैमेट्स फॉर्म होंगे तो उसमें क्या फीचर जाने के चांसेस है? स्मॉल आर दैट इज प्रेजेंटिंग द wrinkled सीड्स एंड कैपिटल वाई दैट इज रिप्रेजेंट द येलो सीड्स. ठीक है, अब जब ये गैमेट्स फ्यूज होंगे फर्टिलाइजेशन के टाइम पर तो क्या बनेगा हमारा? F1 जनरेशन. हमने लॉ ऑफ डोमिनेंस में भी देखा था, जब पेरेंट प्लांट के गैमेट्स फ्यूज होते हैं तो कौन सी जनरेशन फॉर्म होती है? F1 जनरेशन. और F1 जनरेशन में क्या होगा? कैपिटल आर स्मॉल आर, कैपिटल वाई स्मॉल वाई. हमेशा कैपिटल को पहले लिखते हैं और स्मॉल लेटर्स को बाद में. बट जब हम कैरेक्टरिस्टिक लिख रहे हैं तो इधर पहले राउंड लिखा है तो इधर रिंकल्ड ही पहले लिखेंगे. तब ये नहीं करेंगे कि हाँ ये कैपिटल है तो इसको पहले लिखते हैं. पहले अगर हम कलर ऑफ द सीड्स या शेप ऑफ द सीड्स पहले लिख रहे हैं तो दोनों साइड में पहले शेप ऑफ द सीड लिखेंगे, फिर दोनों के कलर ऑफ द सीड लिखेंगे. ठीक है, वो सीक्वेंस सेम रखते हैं. तो F1 जनरेशन में जो गैमेट्स बने दैट विल बी हैविंग कैपिटल आर स्मॉल आर, कैपिटल वाई स्मॉल वाई. ये प्लांट दिखने में कैसे होंगे? सारे के सारे प्लांट्स के पास कैसे होंगे? राउंड सीड्स बिकॉज कैपिटल आर इज डोमिनेंट एंड द सीड्स विल बी हैविंग येलो कलर. सारे के सारे प्लांट्स हमको कैसे मिलेंगे? राउंड एंड येलो सीड्स वाले. ठीक है, अब हम इन राउंड एंड येलो सीड्स वाले प्लांट्स का लेकर क्या करेंगे? सेकेंड स्टेप में हमेशा हम क्या करते हैं? लॉ ऑफ डोमिनेंस में भी हमने क्या किया था? सेल्फ पॉलिनेशन. ओके, तो हम जो F1 जनरेशन में प्लांट मिले उनका सेल्फ पॉलिनेशन करवाएंगे. सेल्फ पॉलिनेशन करने के बाद क्या रिजल्ट्स होते हैं वो देखते हैं हम. May I erase this part also? So, F1 जनरेशन में हमें क्या मिला था? कैपिटल आर स्मॉल आर, कैपिटल वाई स्मॉल वाई. ठीक है, तो जितने भी ओवम बनेंगे वो इनसे बनेंगे और जितने भी पॉलन ग्रेन्स बनेंगे वो भी इन्हीं से बनेंगे. अब जब गैमेट बनेंगे तो क्या क्या पॉसिबिलिटी है देखते हैं. ये F1 जनरेशन है हमारा. F1 जनरेशन के बाद जो इनके गैमेट्स बनेंगे उसमें क्या क्या पॉसिबिलिटीज हैं, लेट्स सी दैट. तो एक पॉसिबिलिटी है कैपिटल आर के साथ में कैपिटल वाई चला जाए, एक गैमेट जाएगा. एक जीन जाएगा जो रिप्रेजेंट करेगा कलर को और एक रिप्रेजेंट करेगा शेप ऑफ द सीड को। तो कैपिटल आर कैपिटल वाई जा सकता है। सेकेंड पॉसिबिलिटी क्या है, कैपिटल आर चला जाए और साथ में स्मॉल वाई। ये वाले पॉलिन ग्रेन्स भी बन सकते हैं। उन पॉलिन ग्रेन्स में क्या इंफॉर्मेशन है, कैपिटल आर एंड स्मॉल वाई। थर्ड पॉसिबिलिटी है स्मॉल आर कैपिटल वाई और फोर्थ पॉसिबिलिटी है स्मॉल आर स्मॉल वाई। ठीक है, इसी टाइप के 4 गैमेट्स किस में बनेंगे, the female counterpart will be having the similar 4 combinations, capital R capital Y, capital R small y, small r capital Y and small r small y. Okay, so these 4 possibilities will be there. इस टाइप के गैमेट्स बनने के चांसेस रहेंगे। अब जब ये गैमेट्स फ्यूज होंगे तो अलग अलग गैमेट्स के फ्यूज होने पर फर्टिलाइजेशन जब होगा तो अलग अलग टाइप के रिजल्ट्स आएंगे। These results could be worked out very easily using the same method that we did in the law of dominance. But अगर वो पूरा क्रॉसिंग अगर हमें याद रह जाता है तो हम वो लिख सकते हैं। इवन इफ वी डोंट रिमेम्बर तो हम उसका लास्ट में जो कंक्लूजन है, जो लास्ट में उसकी फाइंडिंग है, वो लिख देंगे। ठीक है, पर एक बार अपन वर्कआउट करके देखते हैं कि क्या क्या पॉसिबिलिटीज हैं। तो उसके लिए हम फिर से एक स्क्वायर ड्रॉ करते हैं जैसे हमने लॉ ऑफ डोमिनेंस में ड्रॉ किया था। अब हमारे पास कितने टाइप के गैमेट है, 1 2 3 4। तो हमें कितने ब्लॉक्स बनाने होंगे, 5 ब्लॉक्स, 1 2 3 4। ठीक है, सिमिलरली हियर आल्सो 1 2 3 4 लाइन्स हम ड्रॉ करेंगे तो 5 पार्टीशंस हमारे बन जाएंगे। क्या क्या गैमेट्स की पॉसिबिलिटी है, कैपिटल आर कैपिटल वाई, कैपिटल आर स्मॉल वाई, स्मॉल आर कैपिटल वाई, स्मॉल आर स्मॉल वाई। ठीक है, सिमिलरली मेल और फीमेल दोनों में यही चांस है। एक्चुअली मेल को रिप्रेजेंट आप इस तरह से कर सकते हैं और फीमेल को रिप्रेजेंट करने के लिए ये सिंबल यूज होता है। अगर आपको सिंबल याद नहीं रखना तो आप मेल और फीमेल लिख भी सकते हैं, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है उसमें। कैपिटल आर कैपिटल वाई, कैपिटल आर स्मॉल वाई, स्मॉल आर कैपिटल वाई, स्मॉल आर स्मॉल वाई। अब इन दोनों के जो रिजल्ट्स है ना वो बिल्कुल वैसा ही है जैसा हम जब छोटे थे तो मल्टीप्लिकेशन वर्कआउट करते थे कि हाँ ये 2 है ये 3 है, दोनों को मल्टीप्लाई किया तो उसका रिजल्ट यहाँ लिख दिया। ये 2 है ये 5 है, दोनों को मल्टीप्लाई कर दिया तो इसका रिजल्ट यहाँ लिख दिया। तो इस टाइप का ही क्रॉसिंग हमको इसमें भी करना है। कैपिटल आर दोनों के आर, कैपिटल वाई हियर, कैपिटल आर कैपिटल वाई स्मॉल वाई। ये और ये गैमेट फ्यूज होंगे तो क्या होगा, कैपिटल आर ये स्मॉल आर, कैपिटल वाई हियर, कैपिटल आर कैपिटल वाई स्मॉल वाई। ठीक है, बस दोनों साइड के हमने लिखा है। इसमें से एक कैपिटल आर ले लिया, इधर से एक स्मॉल आर, इधर से कैपिटल वाई, इधर से एक स्मॉल वाई। ठीक है, तो इसी तरह से हम पूरा हमारा स्क्वायर बना सकते हैं। इस स्क्वायर जो बनाते हैं इसका नाम बुक में मेंशन नहीं है बट इसको बोलते हैं पुन्नेट स्क्वायर। पुन्नेट वाज अ साइंटिस्ट हु गेव दिस मेथड, तो इसको स्क्वायर को बोलते हैं पुन्नेट स्क्वायर। तो इस तरह से हम पूरा वर्कआउट कर लेंगे और हमको सारे रिजल्ट्स आ जाएंगे। इन रिजल्ट्स के आने के बाद हम इन रिजल्ट्स को कंपेयर करके देखेंगे कि हमारे कितने प्लांट्स राउंड आ रहे हैं, कितने प्लांट्स रिंकल्ड आ रहे हैं, कितने प्लांट्स के पास ग्रीन सीड्स हैं तो कितने प्लांट्स के पास में येलो सीड्स हैं। दैट विल गिव यू द इंफॉर्मेशन कि सारे प्लांट्स के पास किस किस टाइप के फीचर्स होंगे। अब ये इधर भी स्मॉल आर है, इधर से भी स्मॉल आर है, इधर एक कैपिटल वाई है, इधर स्मॉल वाई है। हियर स्मॉल आर स्मॉल वाई स्मॉल वाई। ओके, तो ये कैसा प्लांट है, इसमें दोनों सीड्स दोनों ये क्या रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं जीन कि वो रिंकल्ड होगा, और स्मॉल वाई है, दोनों रिसेसिव हैं, वो क्या रिप्रेजेंट करेगा कि सीड का कलर कैसा होगा, ग्रीन। ओके, राउंड एंड ग्रीन रिप्रेजेंट कर रहा है। जहां पर भी डोमिनेंट है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल दिस वन, तो ये क्या रिप्रेजेंट कर रहा है कि सीड का कलर हो, सीड का शेप होगा राउंड एंड कलर होगा येलो। अगर हम ये देखें तो ये रिप्रेजेंट कर रहा है कि रिंकल्ड सीड्स होंगे, दैट विल बी येलो इन कलर। ओके, अगर हम ये वाला देखें तो हम देखते हैं कि राउंड सीड्स होंगे कैपिटल आर की वजह से, और ग्रीन होंगे स्मॉल वाई की वजह से। तो अगर हम इन सारे रिजल्ट्स को सम अप करें कि फाइंड आउट करें कि क्या होगा, तो वी विल फाइंड आउट that 9 plants will be there that will be having round and yellow seeds. This is very important, है ना। जब हम लॉ ऑफ डोमिनेंस बता रहे थे तब तो हमको पूरा स्क्वायर क्रॉसिंग सब कुछ शो करना कंपलसरी है, बट व्हेन वी आर शोइंग द लॉ ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंट असॉर्टमेंट, अगर आप ये पार्ट, अगर आप ये स्क्वायर नहीं भी बना पाते, देन ऑल्सो जस्ट मेंशन द फाइंडिंग्स कि क्या फाइंड किया। उन्होंने इन सब गैमेट्स को क्रॉस किया और फिर उनके पास जो F2 जनरेशन आया, दिस इज ऑल F2 जनरेशन। तो जो F2 जनरेशन आया उन्होंने उसमें क्या फाइंड किया, that 9 plants were round and yellow, 3 plants were round and green, the seeds were round and green in color, 3 plants were wrinkled yellow, and only one plant was having round wrinkled seeds that were green in color. Wrinkled seeds that were green in color. So that were the findings of Mendel. उन्होंने ये सारी चीजें find out करी, तो अगर हम total करें तो it comes out to be 16. So after 16 plants, 9 plants were round and yellow, 3 were round and green, 3 were wrinkled and yellow, and 1 was wrinkled and green. So by that way, what was the conclusion? This is experiment and the observation. Now what is the conclusion? By this experiment, Mendel concluded that the round seeds could be yellow or green in color. Similarly, the wrinkled seeds could also be yellow or green in color. Means the inheritance of the shape of the seed is independent of the color of the seeds. So the shape and the color of the seeds are inherited independently. They are not dependent on each other. That were the observation and that was the conclusion of Mendel after carrying out the law of independent assortment. Law of independent assortment के लिए आपके लिए question क्या आएगा exam में? That you could be asked that how Mendel proved that the traits are inherited independently. That could be the question. ठीक है, तो अगर आप ये 3 क्वेश्चन प्रिपेयर कर लेते हैं तो आपके 3 मार्क्स तो पक्के। ठीक है, 1 मार्क्स के लिए किस टाइप का क्वेश्चन आएगा? 1 मार्क्स के लिए इसमें जो मेंडल जो हेरेडिटी चैप्टर में क्वेश्चन आएगा, दैट विल बी बेस्ड ऑन योर स्किल्स, दैट विल बी बेस्ड ऑन योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द चैप्टर। आपने चैप्टर को कितना अच्छे तरह से समझा है, उसके बेसिस पे आपसे एग्जाम में क्वेश्चन आएंगे। फॉर एग्जाम्पल हमने ये जो लॉज पढ़े हैं उनके बेसिस पे आपसे क्वेश्चन आ सकता है कि मेंडल ने मान लो राउंड सीड्स लिया और दैट वर हैविंग ग्रीन राउंड सीड्स दैट वर हैविंग ग्रीन seeds, round shape and green color of the seeds were there, and that was crossed with wrinkled and yellow seeds. तो उनका जो F2 जनरेशन है उसमें रेशियो क्या था? 9:3:3:1, दैट इज द रेशियो। ओके, तो इस टाइप से क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं। एक और क्वेश्चन जो 1 मार्क्स में आने के बहुत हाई चांसेस हैं, वो मैं आपको एक्सप्लेन करती हूँ। जो 1 मार्क का क्वेश्चन रहेगा दैट विल बी एन MCQ बेस्ड क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम दिस चैप्टर हेरिडिटी। 3 मार्क्स का जो क्वेश्चन आएगा दैट विल बी अ लॉन्ग आंसर क्वेश्चन that you have to explain in detail with everything to score that complete 3 marks. But the 1 marks question will be a multiple choice question. I hope you like the explanation. Subscribe to my channel if you like the content so that you are informed about the upcoming videos. I'll be preparing the videos for all chapters of 10th standard science. Okay? In the next video, I will be telling you about the probable question that can come as a 1 marks question from the chapter. Also, please comment me about the topic that you want me to explain next. Also, if you have any doubts, mention in the comment section. I'll try to prepare short videos and explain your doubts. Okay, so that's all for today.